Good morning, traders. This is Wilkey with StartupTrading.com. It is Friday, July 17, 2020. It is 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time. So looking back at yesterday's show on Wall Street, we had really a little bearish down action, but not significant, right? Because most of the action was in the sell zone for value area low, right? We marked these as when you're below them, right? You come back up. That should be where overhead supply starts off really well. And if we're gonna stay up under the supply, this is where it should be sold from. So you can see in everything, you really couldn't get above and get anything going. You had the Russell and the Dow that got up to the pivot point, the line that's pretty much cutting the value area in the center in the white zones. So, but yesterday was a very small range, right? And if you look at the ES, right, most of the day was between value area low and the previous day's low. The overnight low, you couldn't even touch it. You did test the overnight low for basically the other three indexes, and we're able to trade under them. So this was the overnight low, was right on value area low for the Russell, traded under it. For the NASDAQ, overnight low, traded it after the bell, really couldn't get anything going. Same thing for the Dow. So yesterday's action was small and tight, and was some, if you look at the chart, right, it looks like there's selling pressure. I'm actually going to, let me grab another chart for you. Something that I watch and may make available because I do think it helps out. So basically, I watch just some basic fibs for the bell to bell and some internals that I coded myself that I think are important. But these green dots, when they're in the upper zone, this is buying pressure. When they're on the bottom of the chart, it's selling pressure. I use green because it's a contrast, and it's really important to if they're near the top or the bottom when there's pressure. So you can see all the pressure when it did come in yesterday was always to the buy side, right? There was absolutely zero pressure to the sell side yesterday. This purplish blue line is the VIX. That's what I watch because it doesn't have any thing going on with the contract rolls. This is the pure play for the S&P 500 is the VIX, so that's what I monitor. And you can see it was on the low end of the day, low end of the range all day yesterday as well. So as we were seeing, the market not getting any gumption to the upside, right? There were people trying to take it up there. They weren't getting anything for their efforts though. So you had that late in the day push back down one more time, but notice as that push was coming down, you're not getting anything to the VIX to the upside. So I think we beat that up a little bit. So looking at the overnight ranges, right, we come into the session, we had opened up at session highs, come in, so this vertical lines where the opening bell rings, the gray boxes are value area and high and low for the session, and then the pink and green boxes are value area high and low, just calculated from this overnight run. So you can see that once the bell opened, you really couldn't get anything going outside of that value area range, right? A little bit below it, a little bit above it, near 2, 3 o'clock. But just really pushing it back and forth, not any conviction in any real direction. So let's look at the action tonight. Overnight, we have a whopping 23 points. I want you to know, since yesterday's range was so small and tight, look at these level 4s. They're 31.51 to 32.38. So not much of a range. If you look at where we've traded, basically, since June 19th, as we come across, these were our bigger levels that we're, flirting with. 29.81, 30.61 half, 31.71 basically, and we finally broke above that, and we're staying above this zone, right? So now we're contending with the flat line for the year on the ES, and I'll see if I can find this chart. All right, sorry about that. So this is really what we're contending with, right? This area of the chart and this gap is what the bears are trying to defend and the bulls are trying to get in. We've been playing this game on and off basically since June 8th. We get up, and this also correlates to the flat line for the year, pretty much for the S&P 500. You can't really look at the flat line on the futures because of the change in the price. You have to look at it on the SPX, and then you have to see what the differential is, and it changes a little bit every day. So basically, that's around plus or minus a few points is what we're flirting with, is this flat line for the year up here. So as we look up here, we got a visual reference, for this gap, right, from when we broke down, basically on that Sunday night. You had Friday the 21st of February and then Monday the 24th. And then as you come back over, we finally hit it back in June 8th. So, 3.5 months, 4 months later, whatever. And then, coming back up here, hitting it in July. But you've noticed that each time we hit it, right, you went down 272 points. You come back up, you hit it, down 106 points. You come back up, you hit it, down 40 points. So we're, wedging into this area basically. And that's what we'll see, that's where the market wants to go, basically. It wants to return and fill this gap. And just as we were in this area of the chart for a while, we could be in this area of the chart for a while as well, going up, even though it's basically only 100 points. And then you start getting into this churn from before we broke down. So always look at this for a few minutes, or at least 30 seconds to a minute every day. Remind yourself, don't get too caught up in the weeds where you're at right now. Look at the bigger picture. So looking at the ES, we are sitting here at this 32.19 quarter is what I've got marked for some significant, support resistance. We tried to pop above it on Wednesday, and then we fell from it yesterday in the overnight on Tuesday session. We're right back up there again. If we fall back below, basically 32.06, we're just going to chop around, and then we'll have to see if we want to retest this lower level at 31.80. Otherwise, if we can stay above 32.05, 32.06, we're going to retest these 19s and then this high. But remember, our lines for today, right up here, our range should not be really that great. So unless this is going to be one of those days, about 1 out of 7 days a year, do you get convincingly above one of these level 4s and close significantly above or below it. You can modestly close around it, so we could modestly close up here, and I do have a 4B on these other charts. So if we look at the all the indexes now, we can see overnight low, above value area low, above value area low, right around value area low, below value area low, but above yesterday's range for the overnight lows. Look at the highs above, let me scroll this down, above value area high, below yesterday's low, above yesterday's high, between yesterday's high and value area high, above yesterday's high. You get in the picture? So we've rotated around this small range basically overnight. So again, today, it is the bulls' day to lose, right? They should be able to press. We've got basically a couple of sessions, late to the party sell-offs. Basically, everyone from, yesterday at around 8 p.m. on, you have to go back to Wednesday at 8 p.m. So basically, everyone from 8 p.m. on is wrong if they're short at this point in time. So that's about 3 million contracts, give or take. And then you can see that also as we're getting up here, basically as we get up towards these 30s, everyone who's short basically in this contract or since February 24th is potentially wrong. And that could hurt. So that's what the market's got going for it today. So it is the bull setup, right? So if we'll be able to gauge the strength or weakness of the market if we return and start going back through value. Remember that if we can't get acceptance up here again, we should test at least this 31.71. And then next week we'll have to figure out what we want to do. So looking at the overnight sequences, just for a barometer, we've got the overnight low was a little bit higher when it was retested, right? It couldn't take out the overnight low when it come back down here at 4 a.m. and then it really responded off of that and went up. So you look at this is the bullish check over down up on the right, top right. This is the bear check down here to the left. This is stuff from yesterday, just bell to bell action there. So as you come up here, you can see the bears, getting reset. Same thing for the NASDAQ. Coming out of that low, it's a lot cleaner, right? Holding the halfway back long, coming up here, hitting this target at 10,627 just for the session on a micro draw. So we'll see if these, continue to come into play on the, this would be your next entry will be 10,589. If it doesn't, blow out and try to go up to, basically 10,660 first. Looking at the Russell, a little bit sloppier, but coming out of that low, pretty clean. Holding the 61.8, holding the 38.2, going up, blowing out into extensions, and we'll see if it holds that extension or not. I wouldn't count too much on it. I'd just be watching the traditional on this little micro draw. No sense in going on a micro draw and looking at extensions. So as we come back through here and look at all of the indexes. Sorry about that. Moving my stuff around. So remember, top of the game today, more than likely, 32.38 to 32.51. Bottom, if we end up rolling over, which is always a possibility, 31.51 to 31.42, but probably stopping around these 31.70s, and it could just be a chop fest once you get back below 32.05, 32.06, if that does indeed, happen. I hope this helps. You guys have a great weekend. If you like this content and my type of technical analysis, please give the video a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of it, if you're not already a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.